The restaurant glowed in warm amber lights, polished wood floors reflecting the shimmer of chandeliers that hung like frozen fireworks above the long table my family occupied. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, though I knew even before stepping inside that the celebration had little to do with me. It was my sister's night, her newest promotion at some firm my parents bragged about but rarely understood, and the entire dinner had been orchestrated to spotlight her. She was placed deliberately at the head of the table, her seat chosen not by chance but by careful arrangement, as though she were royalty and the rest of us her court. From the moment we sat down, the staff circled her like moths to flame. Without needing to order, a plate of perfectly seared steak was laid before her, the air carrying the scent of seasoning and butter. A glass of clear, sparkling drink was poured into her crystal glass before her hand even touched the table. Everyone cheered, raising their cups, but not a single gesture was extended toward me. I noticed immediately, though I pretended not to. No menu was given to me. No water glass set down. Nothing. I sat with my hands folded in front of an empty setting, the napkin untouched, the silverware glinting under the lights but never used. My eyes moved once to the waiter as he slid past me, but before I could ask, my brother leaned close enough to mutter, "Don't bother. He's not worth the service." His words were low, sharp. A blade slipped under the skin rather than swung. My mother caught the moment and smirked as if to confirm it. "It's better this way," she said clearly enough for the others to hear. She should learn to sit quietly instead of pretending she belongs. Across the table, my sister broke into laughter, the sound loud and practiced, as she cut into her steak. The diamond bracelet circling her wrist sparkled each time she lifted her fork, flashing in the light like an intentional reminder of her success. I sat still. I kept my back straight even as the hollowness in my stomach twisted with more than hunger. It wasn't the lack of food that gnawed at me. It was the spectacle of being deliberately denied, of being erased in front of the people who shared my blood. Every bite they took was a performance, each toast another reminder that I was cast as the outsider in a family where I had once thought I belonged. My father occasionally looked at me, but never long enough to acknowledge me. His attention drifted back to his full plate, his lips pressed against the rim of his glass as though the sight of me was nothing worth considering. The room was alive with sound, but it carried differently for me. Their laughter was heavy, echoing like ridicule. Their chatter about promotions, vacations, and purchases spun around me like a storm that I was not meant to survive. I wanted, in moments, to stand up and leave, to break free from their orchestrated cruelty, but my silence was the one weapon I could wield without their anticipation. And so I sat, waiting, though my chest burned with the weight of unspoken words. The turn came quietly, yet with a force that broke the rhythm of their mockery. The restaurant doors at the far end opened, and two figures entered. A waiter moved quickly across the floor, followed closely by the manager, whose presence carried a sharpness that caught attention without effort. They scanned the long table in one sweep, and I saw the instant their eyes locked on me. Without hesitation, they crossed the room with urgency, their steps breaking through the noise of clinking glasses and laughter. Conversations faltered. The closer they came, the heavier the air grew. They stopped at my side. Both bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that snapped the last threads of mockery still hanging in the air. The manager spoke first, his voice firm and clear, carrying across the table so no one could mistake the words. "Ma'am, we've been waiting so long for you. Welcome back, our owner." The world stilled. My sister's fork slipped from her hand and clattered against porcelain, the sound sharp as a gunshot in the sudden quiet. My father froze mid-sip, his glass hovering in the air. My mother's expression faltered, the confident smirk cracking into disbelief as though she had been struck. My brother's mouth opened, but no sound left it. The stage they had built to ridicule me collapsed in that single moment. Chairs scraped against the floor as the staff surrounded me. A chair was pulled out with careful precision, the table setting before me reset with a plate of the chef's special, steam rising as though the dish had waited only for me. A crystal glass was filled, the liquid sparkling under the lights. Every gesture was deliberate, a declaration to everyone watching, I was not a guest in this place, nor an outsider. I was the one who held the foundation beneath their feet. I lowered myself into the seat, not rushing, not gloating, but with the calmness of someone who had expected this moment even if they did not show it. My hands touched the silverware that had only just been placed, and that night, I cut into food set before me. The silence of the table was louder than the laughter that had filled it before. My family's eyes were fixed on me, but none dared to speak. The irony was sharp enough to taste. They had chosen this restaurant, out of all places, to remind me of my supposed worthlessness, never realizing the walls around them, the floors beneath their chairs, the lights above their heads, all belonged to me. Months ago, quietly, I had bought the establishment, not for recognition, not for status, but for the control it gave me. They had turned it into a stage to humiliate me, never knowing that the stage was mine to command. As I lifted the first bite to my mouth, my sister's face tightened, her eyes darting as though searching for some thread of control she could pull back. My father's jaw clenched. My mother's hand gripped the edge of her chair. They had spent the entire evening crafting a scene where I would be invisible, but now the spotlight had shifted, and they could do nothing but sit in their own silence, food untouched, pride scattered across the table like broken glass. The weight of the room did not lift after the announcement. It deepened. Forks lay abandoned, glasses untouched, the scent of food now heavy with unease instead of appetite. My family sat frozen, each of them locked inside their own disbelief, but none daring to break the silence. I did not rush to speak, nor did I grant them the courtesy of acknowledgement. Instead, I focused on the plate before me, cutting into the meal with measured calm, every movement deliberate. The scrape of the knife across porcelain was louder than their voices had been moments earlier. It was a sound that cut through the quiet, each slice another reminder that the control they had held over the evening had dissolved. My sister tried first. Her hand trembled slightly as she lifted her napkin, dabbing at lips that had no food to wipe away. Her voice came thin, carefully measured, though it betrayed an edge of desperation. "You never told us this place how." She left the words incomplete, as though saying them in full would acknowledge too much. Her eyes, bright with authority only minutes ago, now darted nervously across the staff, waiting attentively near me. She wanted to regain her footing, but the ground had shifted beneath her, and she could not find it. I did not answer. I let her question hang, empty, just as they had left my plate when the night began. My silence pressed harder than any reply. My father cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably in his chair. His hand remained on the stem of his glass, though he did not lift it. "If this is some elaborate joke," he began, but his tone wavered, a sharp contrast to the authority he was used to commanding. The manager, still standing respectfully at my side, cut him off without hesitation. "There is no mistake. This establishment has belonged to her since the transfer months ago. Everything you've been served tonight has been under her direction, her hospitality." His words left no space for argument. My mother's smirk, the one that had shaped the evening from the beginning, was gone. In its place was a tight-lipped expression, strained with disbelief. She leaned back slowly, as if putting distance between herself and the truth unraveling in front of her. The quiet stretched. It was not the silence of peace, but of crumbling illusions. Every one of them looked at me now, but none found words strong enough to restore what they had lost. I continued to eat, not rushing, not stalling. Each bite became a declaration. For the first time that night, I was not at their table, they were at mine. The staff refilled my glass, adjusted the setting, ensuring every detail was perfect, their movements subtle but sharp in their message. My presence here was not tolerated. It was revered. My sister's eyes glistened with something she tried to mask as curiosity, but revealed itself as anger. She had built her night around being admired, and in one moment, all eyes had turned from her to me. She leaned forward, her bracelet catching the light again, but it no longer gleamed with triumph. "So, what? You've been hiding this from us? You let us sit here like fools while you..." Her voice cracked with the bitterness of lost control. My father interrupted, his jaw tight. Enough. But the word carried no weight. His authority fractured under the presence of staff who stood for me, not for him. The waiter who had ignored me earlier now returned, his demeanor transformed. He placed another dish near me, bowing his head as though the earlier slight had never occurred. His eyes did not meet mine, though. He knew. They all knew. And my family knew too. Every reminder of my role was a blow they could not deflect. I finally spoke, my voice steady, unhurried. Strange, isn't it? How quickly a seat at the table can change its meaning. The words were not loud, but in the quiet, they carried further than any shout. My sister stiffened. My brother shifted uncomfortably, his earlier whisper about me not being worth the service, now lingering between us like smoke he couldn't clear. My mother lowered her gaze, the first crack of humility breaking through her defiance. The staff moved seamlessly around me, clearing plates no one had touched, replacing settings, as though preparing for a new beginning of the night. My family watched, paralyzed, stripped of the power they had wielded so carelessly. I did not explain how I had purchased the restaurant, nor why. That story belonged to me, and I owed them none of it. The mystery weighed heavier than any explanation could have. Their imaginations would torment them more than my words ever would. But it wasn't only silence that pressed against them. It was memory. Every moment they had humiliated me tonight, every laugh, every dismissal, replayed in their minds now against the truth of where they sat. My brother, unable to hold still, leaned forward. So, what happens now? His voice cracked, betraying the edge of fear he tried to hide. He had always been sharp with words when they were aimed at me, but now his tongue faltered. I set my fork down gently, folding my hands on the table. Now? Nothing you planned. That was all. No promise, no threat, just a truth they could not avoid. The unease deepened, wrapping itself around them like chains they could not see, but could not escape. The night dragged on, not with conversation, but with silence they could not break. Plates of food cooled untouched in front of them, while mine was replaced with course after course, each one served with the same precision, as though I were the only guest that mattered. Their eyes followed every movement, every gesture, as if waiting for me to release them from the weight of the moment. But I gave them nothing. When dessert arrived for me alone, my sister finally snapped. This is ridiculous. Her voice was sharper now, desperate. You're doing this just to embarrass us. Her words trembled with the realization that embarrassment was the very thing they had intended for me, turned back on them without effort. I raised my eyes to hers, holding her gaze until she faltered. No, I said softly. I'm not doing anything. You're the ones who chose this table, not me. Her face hardened, but her silence afterwards spoke louder than her protest. My father finally pushed his chair back slightly, though he did not stand. His pride fought with the reality before him, and neither won. He wanted to reclaim authority, but the walls, the staff, the ownership of the space itself denied him. The manager, still present, leaned in discreetly and asked if I wished to close the restaurant early for privacy. I considered it, watching my family's eyes widen at the suggestion. The idea that I held the power to end their evening entirely with a single word cut deeper than any confrontation. I shook my head. No, let it continue. Let them sit. So they did, and the longer they sat, the heavier the truth pressed. They had mocked me in a place they believed neutral, never realizing it was my ground, my choice, my stage. Now, stripped of their laughter and their cruelty, they sat with only their silence, their untouched plates, and the knowledge that the daughter, the sister, the family member they had tried to erase had never been beneath them at all. The evening ended not with celebration, not with laughter, but with quiet departure. My sister rose first, her bracelet no longer catching the light, her eyes refusing to meet mine. My brother followed, his shoulders tight, his head bowed just enough to betray defeat. My mother left without a word, her silence an admission of what she could not say. My father lingered longest, as though searching for something to restore himself, but found nothing. One by one, they slipped out, leaving their food, their pride, and their control behind. I remained seated, finishing the last bite of dessert. The staff cleared the table around me, their movements smooth, efficient, without disturbance. The restaurant returned to its rhythm, guests at other tables whispering, watching, understanding only fragments of what had unfolded. But I understood all of it. The morning after the dinner did not begin with silence in their house. It began with the sound of raised voices. From the moment the sun came through their windows, the air inside my parents' home was heavy with arguments that cut through the walls. My sister's voice, sharp and restless, carried through first, demanding answers no one could give. She paced the kitchen, the clatter of her heels against tiles striking as loudly as her frustration. My mother sat at the table, her hands gripping a coffee cup she did not drink from, eyes fixed on the surface as though staring hard enough could undo the night before. My father leaned against a counter, arms crossed, his jaw tight, listening but saying little. My brother stayed in the hallway, moving between the rooms, unable to settle, his restlessness filling the space with unease. "What do you mean she owns it?" My sister snapped, slamming her hand down against the counter. "Since when? Why didn't anyone know?" Her voice cracked, not from confusion, but from the sting of being blindsided. She had spent years believing she held the spotlight in the family, and in one night, that spotlight had been ripped away. My father exhaled heavily, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I don't know," he muttered. She never said a word. My mother finally spoke, her tone strained. "Because she didn't want us to know. That's obvious. She wanted this moment. She planned it." She pushed her untouched cup away, the scrape loud against the table. She let us sit there while she waited for the manager to expose her. She wanted to humiliate us. "She didn't humiliate us," my brother muttered from the hallway. "We did that ourselves." His words landed heavy, cutting through the room. For the first time, none of them had a response. Because he was right. Every insult, every smirk, every laugh had been theirs. She hadn't lifted a hand to bring them down. They had fallen on their own. The arguments swirled for hours, shifting blame, circling questions, but no one dared to leave the house or pick up their phones. Each of them felt it, though none would admit it. The weight of shame pressing into their bones, the fear of what others might have seen, what whispers might already be spreading. They had mocked me openly, and now every glance from outsiders could carry judgment. My sister, furious, finally stormed to her room, slamming the door behind her. My mother followed soon after, muttering under her breath about betrayal. My father retreated to his office, shutting himself inside. The house fell quiet again, but it was not peace. It was the silence of a structure cracking under its own weight. While they unraveled, I sat in my own space, not rushing, not reaching for them. I had no need. Their downfall was unfolding without my interference. What they didn't know was that the dinner had not been an accident, nor had the reveal been chance. I had chosen that restaurant deliberately when I bought it, knowing my family's habits, knowing how much they prized appearances. I waited for the right moment, and when my sister's promotion became their excuse to gather, I let them build their spectacle inside my walls. They thought they had chosen the place. In reality, I had chosen it for them. I remembered every detail of the dinner. The way my sister's laugh had carried when she mocked me, the way my mother's smirk had widened when she dismissed me, the way my brother whispered his cutting remark, the way my father avoided looking at me at all. They believed themselves untouchable. That was why the silence that followed the manager's announcement had broken them more than any speech from me could have. Days passed, and the tension in the family grew thicker. My sister stopped posting about her promotion. Her confidence faltered. Her eyes dimmed when people asked about the dinner she had once bragged about. My mother avoided neighbors, embarrassed by whispers she imagined even when no one spoke. My father carried himself stiffer, his voice harsher at work, as though trying to mask the humiliation with authority elsewhere. My brother withdrew, his usual snide remarks falling away, replaced with quiet unease. But what none of them realized was that the dinner was not the end. It was the opening move. Owning the restaurant was not about profit or status. It was about reclaiming control. They had spent years chipping away at me, turning every gathering into a reminder of where they thought I belonged. They believed I was fragile, someone to dismiss, someone whose silence meant weakness. They never understood that silence could also mean calculation. I did not confront them. I let them sit with the weight of their own behavior. Yet the silence became more unbearable than confrontation would have been. My sister finally reached out one evening, her message short and curt. "We need to talk." I did not answer immediately. I let the hours pass, the impatience grow, before I responded with a single word. When she offered a time, desperate to control even a fraction of the situation again. I agreed, not because she commanded it, but because I chose to let her believe she still had some control. When we met, her composure was thinner than I had ever seen. She wore her success like armor, but the cracks showed beneath the surface. She sat across from me in a quiet cafe, her hands wrapped tightly around her cup, her words careful. "You blindsided us," she began. "You let us humiliate ourselves in front of everyone. Why?" I let her speak, listening without interruption. Her voice carried both anger and desperation, a mix that revealed more than she intended. She wanted to believe she still had the power to demand answers, but her eyes betrayed her fear that I owed her nothing. When she finished, I leaned forward slightly. "Why?" I repeated softly. "Because that's exactly what you've done to me, over and over. I didn't humiliate you. You did that yourselves. All I did was let the truth stand in the open." Her jaw tightened. She wanted to argue, to deny, but the memory of the dinner was too fresh. She had no defense. She tried to switch tactics. "Fini. You made your point. But what do you want now? What's next?" Her words carried the assumption that there had to be more, that my silence was too heavy not to lead somewhere darker. I let the question hang, watching her squirm under its weight. Finally, I smiled faintly, not warmly, but with a calm she couldn't read. "You'll find out." That was all I gave her. The unknown unsettled her more than any answer could have. She left that meeting shaken, and the tension only grew in the family after that. My father demanded explanations from her. My mother pressed for details. My brother asked what I had said. But she told them nothing. She didn't want to admit how unsettled she felt, how little she had managed to pull from me. The silence continued to spread, turning their home into a place of suspicion, each of them glancing at the others with doubt, wondering if they were the only one left out of some larger plan. And the truth was, they were. I had been silent for years, absorbing their cruelty, but silence had not meant weakness. It had meant waiting. The dinner was the beginning, the first move that forced them to face what they had created. But it was far from the last. The cracks were showing now, spreading through the glass facade of their perfect family image. All I had to do was watch, and wait, and choose the right moment again. Weeks after the dinner that shifted everything, the tension inside my family's home had reached a breaking point. They avoided each other in their own rooms. Conversations ended before they began, and silence weighed heavier than words. My sister no longer boasted about her promotion. My mother stopped holding gatherings. My father's voice carried less authority, even within his own house. The memory of that night in the restaurant lingered like a shadow none of them could outrun. They had tried to act as though it had passed, but their unease betrayed them. They were waiting, all of them, for what I might do next. I gave them no certainty. I didn't visit, I didn't call. I let distance do what confrontation never could. Make them feel powerless, make them question their place in my world. I let them think about the empty plate they left for me, the silence they forced on me, the laughter they used against me. And I let them realize that I hadn't lifted a finger to retaliate, yet they were already unraveling. Then I sent the invitation. It was simple, nothing elaborate. A letter delivered to their home, sealed with the restaurant's crest. Inside, a short message, dinner, Friday evening. Your presence is required. No explanation, no detail, just a time and a place. They had no choice but to come. They feared what refusing might mean, and their curiosity gnawed at them more than their pride could resist. When Friday came, they arrived together, dressed as if for another celebration, though the tension in their shoulders betrayed their discomfort. The restaurant was quieter that night, reserved entirely for us. No other guests, no background chatter, only the echo of their footsteps across the polished floor. The staff greeted me first, bowing their heads as I stood waiting near the head of the table, my table now, not my sister's. I watched their eyes flicker across the room, noticing the details they had ignored before. The way the staff looked only at me, the way the decor had been adjusted to reflect subtle touches of my taste, the way every movement inside the building carried my authority. They were walking into my domain again, and this time, there was no illusion left to comfort them. They took their seats hesitantly, my sister across from me, my parents to either side, my brother farther down. No words were exchanged at first. The silence was thick, broken only by the quiet motions of the waiters setting down menus they knew my family would need. My setting was already prepared, plated with care, my glass filled before I even sat down. Theirs remained empty, waiting. My sister finally broke the silence. "Why did you call us here?" Her voice was steady, but her hands betrayed her, fidgeting with the edge of her napkin. She wanted control, but she didn't have it anymore. I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence stretch, let her impatience rise. Then I said evenly, "Because we need to finish what you started." My father leaned forward, trying to gather what little authority he had left. "We know what you did. You wanted to embarrass us. Fine. You succeeded. But dragging this out? Dragging this out?" I cut him off, my voice calm but sharp. "Do you think one dinner erases years of the way you've treated me? Do you think silence means forgiveness?" They shifted uncomfortably. My mother's lips tightened. "You've made your point, but family." "Family?" I repeated, my eyes on her. "Family doesn't starve one of their own at the table. Family doesn't laugh when one of them is erased. Family doesn't treat silence as a cage." The words landed with finality. My brother lowered his gaze, guilt pressing into his posture. My sister looked away, her jaw clenched, her bracelet flashing again under the light, but now serving as a reminder of a crown that had already slipped. The waiters began serving dishes, placing full plates in front of me while theirs remained untouched. They stared at the food, but none dared to move. My sister tried again, her tone sharper now, desperate to regain ground. "So, what do you want from us? Apologies? Is that it? Fine. I'm sorry. There. Done." Her words were empty, tossed across the table like scraps. I shook my head. Apologies mean nothing if they come from fear. What I want isn't words, it's recognition. Not just tonight, not just when you're cornered. I want you to remember that I'm not the shadow you've treated me as. I'm the one holding this table, this restaurant, and every silence you've left me in. They sat in stunned quiet, unsure how to respond. My father, for once, did not argue. My mother didn't smirk. My brother didn't whisper. My sister didn't laugh. They had nothing left. I leaned back, my plate untouched for the moment, letting the weight of the truth settle. You thought I didn't belong. You made sure I felt it. But now, look around. Who belongs here? Who holds the seat you wanted me to leave empty? They followed my words with their eyes, taking in the staff, the setting, the undeniable proof around them. The truth couldn't be avoided anymore. Their pride, their control, their illusions, it was gone. The meal continued, though only for me. Course after course arrived, served with care, while their plates remained bare. They shifted, restless, but no one dared to demand service. They knew it wouldn't come. This was my table now, and they had to sit in the silence they once forced on me. When dessert came, I lifted my fork, then paused, my eyes sweeping across them. "This is the last time we sit like this," I said. "From now on, understand something. When you speak my name, when you see me, when you try to decide where I stand, remember this table. Remember who left you with empty plates." My words did not need to be louder. They carried enough weight in their simplicity. None of them spoke. They couldn't. I finished the final bite of dessert, set down my fork, and stood. The staff moved instantly, pulling back my chair, bowing their heads. My family remained seated, silent, watching as I walked away. The image was burned into them. Me leaving full, them sitting empty, their pride shattered, their illusions destroyed. That night was not about revenge. It was not about gloating. It was about closure. They had left me with nothing, over and over, and now I had given them the same. They would carry that silence longer than any words I could have spoken.